Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. So once again, we are up with another topic of your important concern and of mine as well. Yes, as promised in our earlier video that we will bring a thread of interviews that didn't go right at all, and what were the mistakes that I committed in those interviews and what went wrong exactly in those interviews. To understand this, you need to have some self introspection. You can also undergo this experiment with yourself. Try to close your eyes after you come out of an interview hall and try to figure out what went wrong or what went right in an interview. What went right, you should repeat that in the next interview as well, and what went wrong, you should try to rectify that. But you need to have a good level of self introspection. You need to have a open outlook about your mistakes, what mistakes you have done or you might have done in the interview, because a thing that is not very likable about this interview fraternity is that they do not give a clear vision, or they do not give a clear approach to their interview process. That is, they do not really give out to the candidates that what they exactly want from the candidates and why they're rejecting a particular candidate. So the only thing that can help you in this is self-introspection, and that is what exactly I've done. So first of all, an apology from my end for not bringing up a video on this weekend, because I was having a tidbit tasks on this weekend, and it was a busy weekend. Now also I was washing clothes, but now I'm free now. That's why I'm up here interacting with you guys with a very important topic. So today's experience is going to be about Suez India. So first of all, let me tell you that in the description box I have provided a link which tells about the process of Suez India internship, finally converting a PPO. So I would like you to refer to that video to understand the process of hiring of Suez India, how they conduct the aptitude test, then they conduct the GD test, what are the topics that they generally do ask in the GD, and finally the PI round, what questions they do generally ask, if technical at all, what do they ask, what are the HR questions that they generally ask to the people. All of it will be there in the video that's there in the description box. So go there and click the link and try to watch that video. Today I'm not going to discuss about the interview, about the entire procedure, but I'm going to discuss specifically about the PI and what happened to me personally, and what mistake did I commit and what went wrong in the interview. So let me come straight away to the topic. It's going to be a short topic, so stay with me till the end. So as I went into the interview hall, as usual, there were three persons in the panel. One lady was there and two gentlemen were there, and they were all up with their sleeves trying to ask me questions, and they asked me to introduce myself as usual. Very generalistic question that introduce yourself, and I introduced myself. And in my introduction as well as in my CV, the point to be noted is that was my first interview, and that's why I included a startup, and I wrote that co-founder and marketing head of this startup. Clearly, the word startup was there mentioned in my CV, and that quite reflected in front of the interviewers as expected. So at that point of time, I didn't have an idea that I shouldn't write this in my CV. And what was asked straight away to me, instead of any chemical engineering technical question, instead of any journalistic HR question, the straight away topic went towards my startup. So what's the startup, Soumajit, that you are working on, and how are you proceeding about it, and what is the startup exactly about? So I explained the startup, I explained the workings of the same, and then the discussion altogether went towards that only. Yes, now my friends, very importantly, as I keep on telling the interview candidates, the ones that are appearing for the interview, the first 1 or 2 minutes that you introduce yourself, or you talk to the interviewers, or your CV in itself, the first 1.5 minutes decides the fate of your entire interview, decides the path of your entire interview. Where will it go? It can be in your forte, or it can be in their court as well. If you write something that you cannot convince them of, then you are in a trap, and in a death trap in an interview, because that's going to drive the interview towards a path that you initially didn't want to go in. But unfortunately, you have written that in your CV and you're stuck now. So write your CV, or make your CV very carefully, and selective words, select your sentences well in your introduction, prepare your introduction, shadow practice in front of the mirror time and again, and prepare your introduction, because that's going to help you throughout your life to structurize yourself in the interviews, because that 1.5 minutes is very important. Since the entire discussion went driving towards my startup, and nothing was asked at all from my internships, from my trainings, from my chemical engineering technical domain, nothing. My 10 to 15 minutes of entire interview went towards my startup. What's this startup all about? They wanted to have a clear vision of. And then the question that arises straight away is a follow-up question on my startup. They wanted to ask that how do I manage the waste that I generate, the textile waste that I generate, or the dyes that are generally used in dyeing the clothes. How do I manage that, or how do I recycle or reuse that textile or the dyes that I use particularly for my startup? I explained the entire thing, that how do I exactly manage the waste. I had to make something up in the interview hall as well, because you do not plan these questions up. So there was a cross-firing, that how do you manage the waste, what are the chemical treatment that you do. So my entire chemical engineering domain actually shifted on my startup, and technical questions were asked on waste management skills and other things related to my startup. And then the manager of the company was straight-faced, and he asked me a simple question, that if I give you an option right now, whether to get employed or to employ a person. Very, very important question, and very, very dicey question as well. So I told him that, sir, I would like to learn about the work that I am supposed to do in your company. But then they told me that you are not supposed to learn in our company, but you are supposed to contribute something to our company as well. And leave apart this 5 years or 10 years question, if I tell you right now, if you want to employ a person, if you're given a power to employ a person or get employed yourself, and you have to stick to that job throughout your life, and if you employ a person, you will have to stick to your business throughout your life. So what are you going to do? I was honest. See, my principle in the interviews has always been honesty and little bit of diplomacy. But at that point of time, I was not diplomatic, and I was brutally honest, and that was one of my mistakes. In an interview, you need to be equally diplomatic. So at that point of time, I told them that I want to employ a person, and that ruined all the chances I had regarding the interview. I was among the 8 people that got selected in the PI, and 4 people out of them got an internship, and I didn't get it because I ruined my own chances by mentioning my startup in my CV, by mentioning my startup in my introduction, and then trying to answer the follow-up questions with utmost interest, which showed again an interest in the startup that I am doing, and following it up with horrendous answer of the fact that I want to employ people. Even if you want to employ people, even if you want to do your startup, I time and again request you people, do not, never ever say that in an interview, I want to employ a person. That was one of the biggest mistakes that I've committed in an interview, and I do not want you to repeat, because they will try to get into the skin of the person that they are taking the interview. They are quite convinced that there must be something wrong with the candidate, and they are trying their level best to reject a candidate and not accept him. They're trying to find ways how to reject a candidate, my friends. And the one mistake that you do that I did personally was, I told them I want to employ someone, whereas the correct answer at that point of time should have been, I want to get employed, because we all are there because we want to get employed. So it was very foolish of me to answer that question, that I want to employ a person, because you are not there to hire, you are there to get hired. And if you do not understand the purpose of your sitting in that interview, there is no meaning of the interviewer showing interest in you. So he was correct in his decision, and I was wrong in giving the interview. Since it was my first interview, I learned, and I didn't repeat the mistake, but I repeated a little bit of other mistakes that ruined my chances further. I have already made a video, why did I get rejected in ZS Associates twice. That was unfortunate, but this was something that was a mistake of mine. So do not repeat this mistake. Do not mention a startup in your CV or in your introduction. Yes, you can somehow slide it in your CV, but say that you are not currently associated with that startup, or you do not see a future with that startup. Never say that you want to employ people. Never say that you are up with a startup. Never say you are studying for CAT, GATE or higher studies. Never ever mention those things. You're just there to get hired and stay with the company. So that's it for today. Do not repeat the mistakes that I have. I will bring up more videos on other interviews and other companies. If you liked it, like it, share it with your friends, subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much.